Russia sends upgraded BREM-80 recovery vehicles with anti-drone protection to Ukraine front. Rostec disclosed on February 20th, 2026, that Uralvagonzavod has delivered a new batch of modernized BREM-80 armored repair and recovery vehicles to Russia's Ministry of Defense ahead of Defender of the Fatherland Day. The company frames the upgrade package as a direct response to battlefield realities in Ukraine, where recovery crews operate under constant pressure from drones, artillery, and loitering munitions. The most consequential changes center on improved crew protection and a mechanized coupling system that lets operators attach, hook up, and begin towing damaged armor without stepping outside the vehicle, reducing exposure during the most vulnerable moments of a recovery mission. The BREM-80 is best understood as a recovery system built around the mobility and automotive baseline of the T-80 family. Rostec confirms the vehicle uses a T-80 chassis and a gas turbine power pack, emphasizing rapid startup and high mobility, including in extreme cold. In practical terms, that turbine architecture is valued for acceleration and cold weather responsiveness, qualities that matter when an ARV has to sprint forward under fire, winch a disabled tank free, and reverse out before counter-battery or FPV drones arrive. The GTD 1250 class turbine associated with later T-80 variants is typically rated around 1,250 horsepower, enabling road speeds in the 70 km/h range on the parent platform and giving the recovery vehicle enough power reserve to work while carrying heavy specialist equipment. The recovery suite is where the BREM-80 earns its keep. Open technical descriptions of the BREM-80U configuration, widely associated with the T-80-based recovery concept, describe a main hydraulic winch rated at roughly 35 ton force, rising to about 140 ton force with a pulley block arrangement, plus an auxiliary winch around 1 ton force for line handling and lighter tasks. Reported cable length is about 160 meters, with a high payout speed that is useful when working from defilade or when the ARV must stay behind cover while the tow line reaches forward. A hydraulic crane in the 18-ton class supports power pack swaps, suspension work, and turret handling in controlled conditions, but on the front, it is more often used for rapid component replacement, obstacle clearing, and battlefield expedients that keep a vehicle mobile enough to self-recover or be towed. Rostec also underlines two pieces of kit that are directly shaped by Ukraine's threat environment: hydraulic winches integrated with a bulldozer-type spade and the mechanized coupling system. The dozer spade is more than a blade. When dropped, it anchors the vehicle so the winch can develop maximum pull without dragging the ARV forward, and it also helps clear rubble, berms, and collapsed structures that increasingly define the battlefield around fortified villages and industrial zones. The mechanized coupling, meanwhile, is a tactical answer to a grim reality. In drone-saturated areas, the most dangerous moment for a recovery crew is often stepping outside to attach shackles and tow bars. If the coupling mechanism can be engaged from under armor, it compresses the exposure timeline and reduces the signature of a recovery effort, which in Ukraine is frequently hunted within minutes. Imagery associated with the program hints at how protection is being treated as a system rather than a single fix. A Rostec-released photo shows a BREM-80 fitted with an overhead protective framework and netting above the superstructure, consistent with the broader Russian trend of adding improvised or semi-standard anti-drone screens to blunt top-attack FPV profiles and disrupt munition flight paths. While such add-ons are not a guarantee against shaped charges, their spread across multiple Russian vehicle types suggests commanders are willing to trade some height and convenience for a small but meaningful improvement in survivability during the slow, deliberate work of towing and winching. Combined with smoke grenade launchers visible on the vehicle, the direction is clear. Recoveries are expected to take place under observation and threat, not behind a tidy rear area perimeter. Rostec's claim that the BREM-80 can tow not only Soviet and Russian vehicles, but also heavier Western tanks is operationally significant. On the Ukrainian front, recovery is not just about saving one hull. It is about preserving combat power, denying the enemy intelligence windfalls, and keeping repair cycles short enough to sustain tempo. The company points to a dramatic demonstration from the REMBAT 2018 competition, where a BREM BREM-80 reportedly evacuated 6 coupled T-80 tanks with a combined mass exceeding 270 tons, a spectacle intended to validate reserve traction, cooling margins, and drivetrain durability under extreme drawbar loads. Whether that scenario is typical or not, it speaks to the design intent. This is an ARV expected to deal with worst-case extractions, including bogged vehicles, damaged tanks with locked tracks, and multi-vehicle recovery trains in poor terrain. So, why does Russia need the BREM-80 now, and why rush it toward the Ukrainian battlefront? Because armored warfare in Ukraine has become a contest of sustainment under fire as much as a contest of gunnery. Tanks and IFVs are routinely disabled by mines, artillery fragments, FPV strikes, and mobility kills that are reparable if the vehicle can be pulled out quickly, but irrecoverable if abandoned. Every hull left forward risks capture, exploitation, or destruction by follow-on fires. Recovery units, therefore, sit at the center of force regeneration, and Russia's modernization emphasis on protected coupling is a tacit admission that legacy recovery tactics are no longer survivable when drones can cue artillery and guide attackers onto a stationary ARV. For Russian formations that still rely heavily on the T-80 family, a T-80 chassis ARV also solves a practical problem: matched mobility. Recovery vehicles must go where the tanks go, at the same speed, across the same soil, and through the same obstacles. A slower, lighter ARV becomes a bottleneck or a casualty. The turbine-powered BREM-80, with its cold start advantage and high acceleration, is tailored to keep pace with T-80 units in winter and in the muddy shoulder seasons that define much of eastern and southern Ukraine. Rostec's separate emphasis on Arctic suitability is not a distraction, but it doubles as an argument for responsiveness and readiness, the same qualities that matter when recovery windows are measured in minutes on the front line. The renewed push behind BREM-80 deliveries highlights a mature adaptation cycle inside Russia's armored industrial ecosystem. Protection upgrades are no longer confined to tanks and IFVs, but are propagating into the enabling fleet that actually keeps battalions in the fight. If the mechanized coupling performs as advertised under combat conditions, it will not merely save vehicles. It will save trained specialists, reduce recovery times, and tighten Russia's repair and return loop, which in Ukraine can translate directly into more armor available for the next assault cycle.